The brain is an expert threat detector. Stress is a response our body has that a lot of people dread, but don't forget, without it, neither humans nor other animals would have survived. Today on Unlock Your Potential, we're inviting you to explore what we might call the stress recipe. Stick with us until the end. We're totally convinced that this content is going to be super helpful for understanding and managing stress better. Small Blue Diamond, why stay tuned? Because you'll learn simple but powerful steps to flip your stress into positive energy. Small Blue Diamond, how to make the most of it? If this video helps you out, share it with your family and friends. If it's good for you, chances are it'll be good for them too. Hit subscribe on our channel now. If you dig this video, give us a thumbs up and drop a comment with your thoughts or experiences. At Unlock Your Potential, we're all about delivering content that really adds value to your daily life. Thanks so much for watching.
These days, stress can turn into a total enemy in our society. It's better to really get to know it through a neuroscience lens. After all, science has spent over 20 years digging into the mechanisms and effects of stress. Together, we'll uncover clues to fight it off before it wreaks havoc. Here's something that's pretty eye-opening. Most people tend to think stress is all about having too much work and not enough time. But when we dig deeper into what's really going on inside, we find that that's not the whole story. Stress pops up for different reasons. You'll see this on Unlock Your Potential. Today we dig into what happens in your body when a woolly mammoth is about to eat you, and when you're fed up behind the wheel in traffic and totally losing it. The brain is a threat radar. It picks up any threatening info. And every time your brain senses a threat, whether it's your time under siege or your very life, like with that mammoth, yes, metaphorically, since mammoths are extinct, it triggers stress hormones to give you the energy you need.
Now the question is, what can you do? And once you know, go ahead and build your game plan. For the same reasons, some people get more stressed than others. It wasn't easy to grasp until we understood why. It's a massive mistake to think everyone gets stressed out by the same situations. That's totally impossible. And we know it because after 40 years of scientific research, we've pinpointed 4 features of any situation that trigger stress. And you don't need all 4. The more you tick off, the higher the stress. The 4 stress trigger characteristics are as follows. Novelty. What's happening has to be new. Unpredictability. It has to be unpredictable. Lack of control. You feel like you have zero control over the situation. Threat to your identity. It has to feel like it threatens who you are. For example, when someone doubts your ability to do your job right. If all that goes down, what you'll experience is a stress response. So it's no surprise that during crisis times, people tend to feel more stressed. It's not new, it's unpredictable, and you can't control it. Basically, people should be more stressed.
But how do you fight that stress? Can you dodge it? Step 1 is to get it. After 40 years studying stress, I don't think people really know what it is. Everyone thinks they do, but in reality, most people haven't got a clue. We once did a survey with 1,000 people. We asked them to define stress. Most said, pressure from not having enough time. So according to that, we get stressed when we don't have time to do everything we want in the time frame we've set aside. Because of that definition, most people told us kids and seniors don't get stressed, they can't deal with it. And that is flat out wrong. Their brains are even more vulnerable. For kids, it's because their brains are still growing. For older adults, because of aging. That's why if we start explaining what stress really is, people can begin to figure out how to deal with it. Because the best way to beat stress is to know those 4 characteristics and have a plan B.
It's funny. Our brain, faced with a stressful situation, reacts just like it did 20,000 years ago. See what I mean? Whether you got a woolly mammoth charging at you or you're waiting for a call from your boss, your brain triggers the same alarm. You're already thinking, then fire me, and you gear up to fight or flee. Your rational brain tries to talk you down. It's no big deal, but the irrational side gets ready for battle. Your pupils dilate to spot danger. Blood gets pumped to your muscles for the fight. Your blood pressure climbs and vessels open. Meanwhile, your stomach and kidneys are told to shut down, while skin capillaries constrict to reduce blood loss if you get hurt. Your body transforms. You go pale and your core temp ticks up. Your brain opens the sweat gland floodgates. Your heart starts pounding, and your lungs ramp up oxygen intake. You're locked and loaded for battle. if you need to be. Because there's a big difference between being chased by a mammoth thousands of years ago and psyching yourself out over a simple phone call. Welcome to modern stress.
You might ask, from all the stress research, has science taught us anything about happiness? Why people tend to be unhappy or when they could be happy? If you're stressed, are you afraid? Well, that's probably the flip side of happiness. Stressed people are generally unhappy. Science is still studying what we call happiness. We don't have all the answers yet, but one thing we do know, happiness isn't about having zero stress. I once read a book titled something like, Free Yourself from Stress Forever. Well, if you actually freed yourself from all stress, you'd be dead. Stress is part of life, in the most anthropological, existential sense, and it's physiological too.
In life, you need a little stress. When you talk to happy people, you'll notice they always set small challenges for themselves. But the difference is they know, so to speak, their stress threshold. And when stress is too much, they pump the brakes. So what about the different types of stress? I'm talking about absolute stress, like a tsunami. You can do absolutely nothing about it. Then there's good stress, the kind that comes from more manageable challenges. Or is it always the same? Let's make a distinction between absolute and relative stressors. An absolute stressor is a threat to your survival. The catch now, if you can even call it that, is that we don't face many absolute stressors in our lives anymore. There are no woolly mammoths.
Still, the World Health Organization predicts that by 2030, depression related to chronic stress will be the second leading cause of disability worldwide. And if there are no mammoths, why is this happening? We think it's because our stressors are now relative, meaning we get stressed by situations that are new, unpredictable, out of our control, etc. And those stressors are everywhere. Have you ever noticed the headlines in the news? They're packed with threatening info. Nowadays, we're surrounded by so much data our brain treats like a mammoth threat, and we trigger stress responses all the damn time.
Modern life is structured by schedules, rules, and codes that bring order and make us feel more secure. Yet, even with that, in the 21st century, we suffer from nervous disorders, stress-related ailments, and irrational fears more than ever. Over the last 150 years, just 3 or 4 generations, we've imposed on ourselves this order, ignoring our evolutionary timelines, our biological clocks. Our bodies haven't caught up yet, and that mismatch often causes these over-the-top stress reactions. And here's a clear example. Say you have a neat desk versus a total mess. On the messy one, papers, pens, pencils scattered, you won't really notice a red pen. But contrast that with a perfectly organized desk, and if a red pen shows up next to blue ones, you'll definitely notice. Now, the same thing happens in modern life. When something throws your routine off or you can't stick to your plan, you start to worry or feel anxious. The human body is wired to respond to threats.
Back in the day, when our ancestors lived out in the jungle or forest, they often came face to face with bears or lions and had to react right away. They'd either fight or run, and once they found a tree, they'd crash there to recover from the threat. But in the city, it's a whole different ballgame. City threats aren't one-off, they're non-stop, and we often go from one to the next. That keeps us from giving our bodies a chance to bounce back, turning everything into chronic stress. We're basically walking around with a ton of browser tabs open in our brains, trying to do it all at once. Zero focus, total meltdown. It's like our brain's a funnel with a ceiling. Once we hit that cap, we crash into stress. When we hit a stressful moment, our body pumps out a hormone called cortisol. It's the stuff that lets us sprint faster, make our hearts pump harder, and even dulls the pain from an accidental scrape, thanks to that energy surge.
But here's the kicker. If our body can crank out cortisol, does it also have the power to crank out calming hormones too? Like a natural antidote to the stress? So we gotta ask, how do I know if I'm stuck in chronic stress? How do I tell if it's chronic? That's the million-dollar question. How do you know when it's too late? Nobody really knows. From a scientific standpoint, we can break it down into 3 phases to get a handle on how it works. Phase 1. Stress becomes chronic. Your digestion starts acting up. You're popping pills like candy. That's your warning light. With kids, they might complain of stomach aches. That's stress, plain and simple. You keep trucking along, and eventually your brain says, I've been doing nonstop. Give me something good, like a sugar hit. Here's where you start reaching for more booze, smoking more, or binging on ice cream. Whatever calms the buzz. That's phase 2. Phase 3 is when illness hits. Memory issues, personality shifts, short fuse. You feel totally burned out, maybe even depressed, especially if you're snapping or getting upset way more often.
Science explains this with animal studies. If you stress a rat the same way day after day, it gets used to that one stressor, its reaction diminishes. But if something else pops up, that rat flips out, becomes basically hypersensitive. Humans work the same way. Let's say you're going through a brutal divorce. Every day is stressful, and you manage. But then something minor happens at work, and you blow up. If you're the type who flies off the handle easily, that's a red flag for chronic stress. You're tuned to that one trigger, but everything else sets you off. You manage to push through, but suddenly something happens at work. A coworker says something that isn't a big deal, and you blow up. When someone gets mad easily, it's a sign they're dealing with chronic stress. They're trying to handle a stress trigger, but have become overly reactive to everything else.
Behavioral science and neuroscience studies say that even though stress is a bad rep, we humans actually need a bit of stress. A little stress is necessary to keep our memory sharp. What does science mean by that? We have to distinguish between acute stress and chronic stress. You want to avoid chronic stress, but acute stress is always good for survival. As mentioned earlier, what research has found is that the relationship between memory and stress follows an inverted U-shape. A little stress boosts memory just a bit, but once it becomes excessive, memory takes a nosedive. That's because stress hormones put your brain on high alert. It's that adrenaline rush people chase when they're grinding to finish a project. But if it's too much, at some point your brain starts mixing up what you need to remember. And because of the stress, memory performance drops. So yeah, a little stress might help your short-term memory. But things go south when you try to multitask, paying attention to 2 or 3 things at once, and then you likely get overwhelmed.
That's why there's this idea that multitasking is brand new, but the brain actually loves multitasking. If our brains could only handle one thing at a time, we'd still be chasing mammoths. Here's the deal. When stress shows up, it adds another task on top of everything you're already doing. And why? As I said before, your brain is a threat detector. It's there to help you spot danger and take action. Imagine you're juggling 2 or 3 things at once and going through a tough divorce. What do you think would go through your head while watching this video and handling all that at the same time? You'd probably ask yourself, can I even do this? Can I handle this and that with my spouse?
It's like another task that sticks in your mind nonstop, becoming hard to process and messing with all your other tasks. That's exactly what stress does. It shows up whenever there's info that threatens your ego, your survival, or whatever else. Your brain processes at first, and everything else becomes irrelevant. Just like our body pumps out cortisol under stress, scientists have discovered other hormones, like oxytocin, that can chill us out and give us a sense of well-being. But can we trigger those on purpose? How do we do it? Plenty of simple pleasures do it. A massage, a heartfelt conversation, etc. Here's a neat experiment. A bunch of women were preparing for public speaking. Half of them got their partner to give them a calm neck massage and talk with them in a soothing tone. The result? Those women had higher oxytocin levels and lower cortisol levels. Oxy not only relaxes us, it boosts confidence and helps us connect better with others, which in turn helps lower stress. In another study, people played a risk-taking game. Some of them inhaled oxytocin via spray. What happened? They took more risks and trusted their opponents more. Back in the early 80s, Science magazine published a study. Doctors tracked patients during post-surgery recovery and noticed something interesting. Patients in a room facing a brick wall recovered slower than those in rooms overlooking a garden full of trees.
Turns out, laughter helps reduce stress too. We naturally focus on smiling faces, and smiles are contagious. Laughing relaxes your muscles and helps build bonds with others. One experiment found that 60 minutes of daily comedy TV lowered cortisol in viewers. Plus, exercise, thinking positively, helping others, laughing, and hugs. It's not just a stress buster recipe, it's a recipe for a better world. Maybe a calm life is the first step to getting there. After years exploring stress, you've drawn some conclusions about whether men and women act differently. When both are stressed in labs, men are 3 times more reactive. They produce more stress hormones than women.
At first, scientists thought that explained why men had more cardiovascular issues. Then someone pointed out that women had more depression. So that didn't make sense after all. There are tons of studies digging into what's behind stress. One clear finding? Social support is the best defense against it. People do well when you remind them, over and over if needed, that the brain isn't here to find the truth. It's here to protect us, help us survive, teach us survival. It's wild how many people spend so much time chasing truth, whatever that means, and so little time taking care of themselves and their loved ones. The brain could care less whether the threat is a giant woolly mammoth or a traffic jam. Stress is stress, and the brain's response is the same. Your brain just doesn't care. And here's one thing that should matter: figuring out why you're stressed. The best way to deal with stress is to understand it. Remember that saying, knowledge will set you free. And that only works if you actually use what you learn in your life, whether it's a little or a lot. Doesn't that make sense? Take note. It's not magic. It's just applied emotional intelligence. We'll catch you in the next episode of Unlock Your Potential, where we'll keep uncovering the secrets to a healthier, more fulfilling life.